Here's a little Halloween for you, kiddies. The Lizzie and Grant house. We moved into the Lizzie and Grant house early 60s. We walked into the place, the guy was showing us around. There was a pot-bellied stove in the living room, the only source of heat. Another wood-burning stove in the kitchen was for cooking and also a source of heat. There was no indoor plumbing. There was an outhouse about 50 yards behind the house. Always fun in the wintertime. We got back to the back bedroom. He was showing the one we were going to share, my brother and I, Tommy, and there was a snake in there, about 3 feet long, pretty good sized snake. Guy went to chasing it, it ran out through a little bolt hole that it had there in the floor. My Aunt Golda found out we were moving into Lizzie Ann Grant house. She had to tell us that there was a woman that went insane there to the point where she scratched grooves in the wall where she went insane, and sure enough there was grooves on the wall in the living room and the bedroom. Found out there was 2 people had brain tumors in that house, died in that house. There was, somebody died in almost every room in that house. We moved in there. Summer turned to fall. It's a cold fall evening. We're awake in the middle of the night by my mother screaming at the top of her lungs. We go running in there in the living room. She said that she saw a coffin just the other side of the living room, flowers all over the place, a man laying in it. They used to have funerals in people's houses back before funeral homes, you know. Well, we got to the source of information from Woodcliff, all things you want to know, and Golda. She says, sure enough, that guy was buried in that room, and the coffin was right where my mother said it was. And described everything in detail, pretty much just like my mother's experience. It woke us up in the middle of the night. Never forget the time there was a big storm. We were all in my sister's room listening to the radio. We had a little 5-tube radio, usually tuned to WLS in Chicago. That was our only contact with the outside world. Listening to things like Barry Maguire, Eve of Destruction, Sounds of Silence, Rubber Soul. But I digress. We're all in there one night, and we hear a noise in the kitchen. Hear this big slam, bang, run into the kitchen, and the back door's open, and there's tracks, wet tracks leading from the hole in the ceiling across the kitchen floor, out the back door, which is wide open, and it's lightning. The wind is thunder. Then there was the night in the 1940s. There's 3 women in the house. There's no electricity at all. They had coal oil lamps. They were expecting news from the front. One of their husbands, lovers, whoever was alive. In the middle of the night, they heard church bells ringing. Not all that unusual, I suppose, with the Woodcliff Baptist Church less than 75 yards from the house. And they heard these bells ringing frantically. And they ran outside, and when they opened the door and ran out in the yard, they heard nothing. News next day from the front wasn't all that good, though. Turns out, husband of the woman that lived in the house, he died. My mother Lydia was really big on dreams. She used to buy those dream books, like the astrology books, except they were books that explained why you dream what you dream and what you dream, what it means. she dreamt she was standing on her front porch. She was a young girl, and a long blue hearse pulls up in front of the house. Two guys get out of it, and one's in a blue suit, one's in a brown suit. They're two brothers, one of them, Bill and Tom Holloway. They get out and start walking towards the house. My mother wakes up before they can get to the house. Next day, she's out on the front porch. Long blue limousine comes pulling up, the same one from her dreams. There's my Uncle Bill, my Uncle Tom in a blue suit and a brown suit. Uncle Bill gets out and says that their daddy had died. He got pulled into a saw in a sawmill. So I guess sometimes dreams do come true.